What if Apple's thinnest iPhone finally stops making you worry about battery life? That's exactly what the latest iPhone Air 2 leak suggests. And if this rumor turns out to be true, Apple may have fixed the biggest reason many people skipped the original iPhone Air. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps me keep bringing you more tech breakdowns like this one. The first iPhone Air looked incredible. It was sleek, lightweight, and one of the best-looking iPhones Apple had ever made. But despite the premium design, it came with one major compromise that users noticed almost immediately: battery life. For many people, that was enough to choose a different iPhone instead. Now, according to a new leak from well-known tipster Digital Chat Station, Apple is preparing a significant battery upgrade for the iPhone Air 2. The report claims the phone will feature a 3,500 mAh battery compared to the original iPhone Air's 3,149 mAh battery. That might not sound like a massive difference at first, but it's actually an increase of around 11%. And when you combine that with Apple's upcoming A20 chip, the improvement could be much bigger than the numbers suggest. Apple's new A20 chip is rumored to be built using a cutting-edge 2-nanometer manufacturing process. Smaller chips are typically more power efficient, meaning they can deliver better performance while using less energy. So instead of simply relying on a bigger battery, Apple could improve battery life from both the hardware and software sides. The result? The iPhone Air 2 could reportedly deliver up to 30 hours of video playback. For comparison, the original iPhone Air was officially rated for up to 27 hours. Those extra few hours may not seem dramatic on paper, but in real-world use, they could easily mean the difference between reaching bedtime with battery left or searching for a charger before dinner. That's especially important because battery life was by far the biggest complaint about the original Air. People loved how thin and premium it felt, but many weren't willing to sacrifice endurance just to get that slim design. If Apple has genuinely solved that problem, the Air lineup suddenly becomes much more attractive. And that's not the only upgrade being rumored. The iPhone Air 2 is expected to keep its beautiful 6.55-inch dual OLED display with a smooth 120 Hz ProMotion refresh rate. Face ID and Dynamic Island are also expected to return, so users won't lose any of the flagship features they've become familiar with. The camera system could also receive a meaningful upgrade. Instead of relying on just a single 48-megapixel rear camera like the original model, the iPhone Air 2 is rumored to add an ultra-wide camera. While not everyone uses an ultra-wide lens every day, it's still a welcome improvement that makes the phone more versatile for landscapes, group photos, and creative shots. For many buyers, having two cameras instead of one simply makes the device feel more complete, especially if Apple keeps the price unchanged. Another interesting point is how the Air 2 could compare to the regular iPhone. If these battery improvements are accurate, it may come surprisingly close to the regular iPhone 17 in terms of endurance. That would remove one of the biggest trade-offs buyers had to accept when choosing the thinner model. Meanwhile, leaks also suggest that Apple's larger iPhone 18 Pro Max could receive an even bigger battery upgrade, potentially delivering battery life comparable to some Android phones with batteries around 7,000 mAh. If the A20 chip really is that efficient, every model in the lineup could benefit, including the Air 2. Of course, it's still impressive that Apple may have managed to fit a larger battery inside such a thin body. We don't yet know exactly how the company achieved it, but if these leaks are accurate, it shows Apple is paying close attention to customer feedback. Sometimes a product doesn't need a complete redesign, it just needs to fix the one issue that kept people from buying it. And that's exactly what the iPhone Air 2 appears to be doing. Personally, this makes the phone much more interesting. The original Air already had an amazing design, and many users were willing to accept a single rear camera, but poor battery life was much harder to overlook. Now, with a larger battery, a more efficient A20 chip, and a dual camera setup, the iPhone Air 2 could finally deliver the balance people wanted from the beginning. Of course, these details are still based on leaks, so we'll have to wait for Apple's official announcement before treating them as confirmed. But if everything we've heard so far turns out to be true, the iPhone Air 2 may go from being a beautiful compromise to one of Apple's most appealing iPhones. The real question is this: if Apple keeps the same slim design, adds a dual camera system, and finally delivers all-day battery life, would that be enough to convince you to buy the iPhone Air 2? What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.